blunt honesty, right? And some people can't handle that.
And they're like, it's too much, too much for the UK audience, cool down.
You be who you are, and if some people don't like it, too bad.
I started with the long term right away, and that was a mistake.
We tried to buy some properties. We lost quite a bit of to succeed. Work alone if you want to go faster. Go partner, something like that, right?
Yeah, if you want to go far, you go alone. If you want to go far, go with someone.
You got it.
Thank you very much, Lourdes, for coming to my podcast, Business Breakthroughs. And would you mind starting by sharing about yourself? What is it you do? What is your business? So we can get to know you.
Sounds good. Well, I'm originally from the Philippines and I immigrated to Canada 21 years ago, maybe even 22 years now, last May. And as a CPA with a corporate background, it has helped me when I met my husband in 2007, who has 10,000 hours under the water as a commercial fisherman. So he started an ocean farming business. We call it sustainable aquaculture. But my corporate background has helped his, I would originally call it a mom and pop business. And then I introduced some corporate intervention, and it is now a professional seafood company. And so when he started the company in 1988, it was just a one-man team. And now there we have probably 20 employees and contractors. And we are actually in one of Canada's growing top companies.
Wow, amazing. Congratulations to
Thank
the
you.
achievement. So, ocean farming business, and after you said the seafood company, right? So what is it, everything like you do with that business? Like, I'm, I live in the UK, but I'm from Czech Republic, so I didn't see the ocean like till I was like 15. Okay. So,
Right.
so, so I don't know that much about it. So what everything you do and what you can do for who do you supply and how does it work?
Sounds good. So we technically get, I call it broodstock in my corporate lingo here in our industry, but it's basically the mother and father parents of the species that we actually cultivate. So the diver pick the mom and dad from the ocean, bring it to our hatchery, and let them spawn. One day, once they reach a certain size, we put them in the secondary nursery system, and then we bring them back in the ocean. So, and then it grows there for 10 years. So this is a long-term business. It's a family firm. And so that's how it goes. And then the main market is actually right now China, but we're expanding in Europe and other parts of the world. And the gooey duck clam, which is a king clam, we call it, is a bivalve mollusk.
Mhm.
And it's a luxury premium product, and it's listed under the Japanese Emperor's list of gourmet foods.
Okay, okay. So, no, and what do you bring to that farming? Like, is any type of fish and shellfish or
It's a shellfish, correct?
shellfish?
It's a shellfish, yes.
Okay, so everything is shellfish. What do you do?
So we have the king clam, as I mentioned. We have
Mhm.
oysters. We have
Mhm.
Manila clams, and at one point we were also other doing other species like sea cucumber and urchins.
Mhm. So you said you're gonna bring them to your farming. They're gonna reproduce. You're gonna bring them back, and it takes 10 years.
It takes king clam in Canada takes 10 years to grow, correct?
10 years to grow. Okay. So the question is, how do you start the business like that when it takes 10 years before you make a first sale?
So when we first got started, we were not originally an aquaculture company. We
Mhm.
started as a fishing company. So the way
Uh-huh.
that the industry works is that if you have a fishing license, then you have divers who will harvest from the wild, and then the seafood processor or seafood companies will buy that product from the wild. This is the fishing side of the business originally. And
Uh-huh.
then that's how we actually ended up bootstrapping the company. Was my husband calls it, we are using our fishing revenue to actually finance our aquaculture habit at that time. So
Yes, yes.
because we were bootstrapping for the first 10 years, but then we plant every year, and then we just actually started our first harvest in 2022.
That's good. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so it's like you would And just reminding me, like when you would be working with money, right? And you have something on something which is bringing you that cash flow, so you are safe and you can live. And after you invest something for the long term, and you need to wait this 10 years, and every year you are adding more and more, so you can every year now harvest and be selling, right? So, but it takes really, I think high level thinking of thinking 10 years ahead and planning when you're gonna be harvesting. A lot of people in the business, it's even difficult to think a year to year. So how did you develop that thinking to think 10 year ahead?
Well, that's a great question because I never thought I'm going to be in this business. I joined a family firm, as I mentioned, 17 years ago. My husband started it 30 years ago, but he's always been thinking long term. And interestingly, I think there's a lot of people who underestimate the value of time horizon. I don't know if all of you know from your audience that YouTube didn't get revenue until only later when it was bought by um, Google bought YouTube, but before then it was not revenue generating. The board of
Mm,
directors of Google actually asked why are they buying YouTube when it was not revenue generating. So think of it from a standpoint of, and I like the analogy that you mentioned, in any business you have to think some short term and some long term. So I
mm,
came from the Far East, and so this is actually very popular wherein people will actually make 300-year plans. I know it's kind of weird to say that, but as a family firm, we think of our three pillars of sustainability as leadership, partnership, and stewardship. And in the stewardship pillar, it's all about, what will the next generation be reaping from the product of our work now.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I heard that a lot in in Japanese and Chinese obviously culture, that it's like people in the Western kind of part of the world, like they think very short term, like here where I'm gonna be in the next year, 5 years, or some companies they can think 10 years, but like you said, like companies think 50 years, 100 years plans in these Japanese companies and things like that, which it's I cannot even imagine it. It's so crazy. I'm now working of me and my businesses to be thinking like 5 years ahead, and it's still so difficult to like I can set a goal when I want to be 5 years, but after kind of putting them together, and I was like, yeah, but it's still kind of a lot to do. But I know that like if you want to be really like going on a high level and you want to become wealthy and things like that, this is what it takes. This is what it takes to be thinking like that. So this is amazing that you are doing it. Yeah, I'm so impressed. Very good.
Thank you. I think a lot of people, again, underestimate the value of time horizon. And I say that again because it's good to point out. And if your audience knows Simon Sinek, who is famous for his book,
Yeah,
Start With Why,
yeah,
he actually has another book that's also very good called The Infinite Game. And
yeah.
at the start of this book, he was talking about, how two countries went into war, and one was thinking about, I need to win this war not just now. It's a battle that I'm looking forward in the next 10 years of in the next 10 years, even if I lose now, I wanted to win the infinite game. And in business, in the parallelism of what we're talking about, a time horizon, like families would want to transfer their generational wealth to the
Mm,
next families.
mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really good. I think if it was, I don't know, it was in a I think it was him. Either was in his book or he was saying that in one of his videos. I don't know, when he went on a conference with one conference which was with I think Microsoft, and the other one he had with Apple. And he said on the Microsoft they were just chatting on that conference how to be better than Apple and how to beat them, and and it was like 80% of the conference how to be better and have a next better iPhone, whatever phone they are using, to beat the Apple. And on Apple conference they weren't thinking about Microsoft at all. It was thinking like how to help the universities, how to think long term, and it was more about just that. And it was like totally different perception from these two big companies what to focus on. And yeah, like he's saying that like there are no rules in the game of business, so people are just making them. So if I think the survival of like the long term, it's a really important one. Okay. And so and you said you started harvesting just in 2022, so it's just 2 years or 3 years now.
3 years now. And
Yeah.
since then, we've actually rebranded from being just a shellfish company. And right now, we just actually completed a merger with our main client. And so we are now rebranded as a seafood company.
Okay.
And the whole game and strategy, as I always tell people, is from shellfish to seafood to food and beverage. So that's our trajectory because it has a bigger total addressable market. Because as a niche company, as a shellfish company, it's a very, very small market. So the way that our long-term planning goes is at the end of the day, we'd like to have a bigger addressable market.
Hmm. So would you be needed to adding another things then?
Say that again.
Would you be needing to add another products than just the shellfish too in order to
That's
go?
correct. Yeah. So now as
What
a
kind
seafood
of?
company, we have lobster, we have other seafood products. And then eventually the plan is if I can buy a winery, a beverage. And interestingly, we were talking about 10-year plan. Whiskey also is the same, right? It takes a lot of years before
Yeah,
you can actually drink the
yeah.
taste.
You can buy a whiskey distillery in here in Scotland.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's quite expensive, but they are here and they are the best.
They are. So the next time I see you, bring one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm making a note. Uh, so are you coming for the um, London event, the Red Bull
No, I plan to, but the timing doesn't work. But I will
Mega
see you.
Success?
Yes, mega success.
Mega Success whiskey, Lourdes. Okay, note.
Perfect.
Okay, any particular whiskey or doesn't matter? Single malt, of
Yes.
course.
The one that you said was the best. Always the best, Vincent.
There's so many to choose from. But my business partner is really into whiskey, so he will choose
Oh,
something. Okay.
wonderful, wonderful.
So that's very interesting. Like, so when are you thinking of adding another products in order to expand to that? Now you are seafood, so you said the food and beverage. So what's the next step?
So the next step is we're in a trajectory to focus on being a $1 billion company in 10 years' time, and then going in the Shanghai or Beijing public exchange market. And
Mhm.
I'm into technology as well. So obviously we'll put into that artificial intelligence, blockchain. I call it ABC, right? Artificial intelligence, blockchain, and community. Building the community right now is the main focus as well.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. $1 billion company in 10 years, yeah. So how
Yep.
much revenue are you making right now, if it's not a secret?
It's seven figures right now, going to
Seven
eight.
figures. Hmm. Wow, very good. Cool. I'm allergic to shellfish.
There's a lot of people who are allergic to shellfish, but the interesting part is they're coming up with new products that are like pseudo shellfish or pseudo seafood. So I don't know if you know, there's actually a sushi that's made of mushroom.
Oh, okay, like that, like a mushrooms. Okay, no, that's fine. I mean, I so I just have a sushi with salmon. I can eat fish, just shellfish. Didn't know that for a long time until I moved to UK and I was a chef, so I was working with shellfish a lot, and that's how I found out. Yeah. Okay. So this is very interesting. And with the people you said like around 20 uh, employees and contractors. How are you finding that? Like to find the right people to your business? Do you have a lot of turnovers? Like, have you had a problem with staff in the past, or are you having right now? And how do you deal with that? Because obviously, when you are growing a company, more people are coming, more problems can happen. So,
Very good question. With great difficulty. It's a very niche industry. And so at the beginning, we've gone through a gauntlet of actually having to have a lot of people go through the training until we finally lock in the team that we have right now. And interestingly, I actually work with the company for 17 years now. And the two partners, divers, that my husband and business partner had worked with him for 25 years and 30 years. And our team right now, actually, the shortest period of time that they've been with us is actually 5 years. So once we have that great team, then they stay. Or we have people actually who leaves and come back. And
mhm.
so since it's a very, very technical industry, a lot of the people, like especially divers, has been working with us for actually minimum probably a decade now. And so it's hard at the beginning to go through the process of picking the team members, but once we lock it in, they stayed.
Is there much competition with this kind of a niche business when you do in Canada?
It's more of there's not enough divers anymore who knows what aquaculture is. They work in the wild fisheries, and which is a very different dynamics because
Mm-hmm.
it's very seasonal. While with aquaculture is working all year round, and so the pay modality is different, wherein they are paid by the pound in the wild fisheries. Right now, we're creating a modality wherein they can be paid by the results of harvesting how many pounds. Right now, they're working on a daily basis per diem.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Okay. I see. So how do you find the right people then? If it's very niche, like, do you need to train them or do you steal them from someone else?
We normally don't steal from someone else because our company is quite well known in the industry. It's the other way around, actually. They steal
People are
from,
stealing from you?
yes.
What companies? I want the names, companies, and what?
I'd rather not say. They're good companies too, but people come back to us anyway. So they steal them and then they come
Okay.
back.
Oh, that's
But
good. But you
make
are
no,
after like, no, you left. Not my problem. No more
no,
training.
no, no, we're very open because we know they're going to come back, interestingly.
Oh, nice.
And then, so to answer your question, we actually partner with a lot of collaborators. So we partner with a diving company that normally sends us people who just
Mm-hmm.
graduated from the diving course. And then we also have partnerships with universities and colleges here, wherein after a student take an aquaculture career or subjects, then they send us their names. So those are some of the sources that we have. And obviously, the big pull as well is immigration. So we had people from abroad before or bring them over.
Mm-hmm. 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 And obviously, we are part of the JT Folks Insiders. How long are you involved with JT Folks, and what do you think about him, for that matter?
So I am only in actually in the JT world in the last 3 years. So a person who I had the pleasure of knowing named Heather Joy Bassett, who I
Mm-hmm.
belong to another mastermind group, introduced the group to me in 2022. And I love the way that JT thinks long term. As you know, in the insiders, it's a 10-year relationship. And he
That's
is,
that's what one of the reason I joined. This was like it's a 10 years, which I'm working on. So I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's good for me.
yeah. So at the beginning, I was a little offended by the way how JD actually deal with people, but he's very different on stage and very different from the way he actually treats his clients, which, as you know, he treats them very, very much like
Mhm.
family. And so for those who are easily offended with the way that I would call it blunt honesty, right? And some people can't handle that. But in a way, I'm kind of like that too, wherein if there's something that I see, I'll just call it on. And he's very much like that. So
Yeah,
there's no wasting time. So I like that style actually.
yeah, yeah. Me too. I'm the same. So that's one of the problems in here in UK actually, because people are exactly the opposite. You need to say 30 sentences before you say the one thing you want to say to don't offend anybody.
That's right. That's
So
right.
in
So I
here,
thought
when
the same thing when I came to Canada. I'm like, what exactly are they saying?
yeah. I sometimes go and speak on stage, right? And sometimes I'm like a member of, it's called like a professional speaking association. You also have that in Canada, the same organization. And the you can go and you can do like a showcase, like you can speak 10, 20 minutes, whatever, and they'll give you feedback, the professional speakers. So I've done a lot of them last year, and I do my kind of a little bit of like a really high energetic USA style. And they're like, it's too much, too much for UK audience, cool down, and after you are too direct, and then they're trying to change me. I'm like, no, this is why I am. Like, you don't change me. So it's usually 50% of people, they are like okay with me, and 50% they don't like it at all because it's too much for them. So, but after I've seen JT on his event, and I'm like, he's like 100 times more direct than I am, and I'm like, okay, so no, that's good. So I can continue with what I'm doing.
Exactly. You be who you are, and if some people don't like it, too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Even today on the networking events, I was asking people like, like, what is it you do? They share something with me. I'm like, oh, good. You'll be good for my podcast. I'm looking for more people, successful business people on my podcast. what is that podcast about? And I'm like, so do you want to promote your business or not? It's like, yeah, I do. So don't ask questions and just, log in, sign up and just come and we speak over there. And they're like,
Jump in.
oh, it's like, yeah, just do it now, So some people are like hesitating and I want to have million questions. So, but yeah, but you are with 3 years, and do you see any bigger progress in those 3 years working with J Team?
I love that again because it really resonated with us working long term, and originally I was just kind of tiptoeing. Obviously, the first time that I've seen Adam, I'm in the M7A mergers and acquisition group as well, and in the chairman group at the beginning. And it was in the same trajectory that I was already talking to you about. We were already in the process of rebranding, from shellfish to seafood. So it does make total sense for me to be in the chairman group at that time. And then that's what I'm focusing this year at the end of the year would be see if we can have a group brought to the M7A uh, community and then see if we can do a roll up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah, I'm also on that training. I'm actually just watching the recaps now because the timing was is very late for me in here in UK to get on those. But I'm actually just now rewatching those, and yeah, it's really interesting to do this. But at the moment, we are focusing on the property business in here, buying some properties, just building a little bit of a base of like you were saying about this. That really reminded me like you were having that cash flow, we were doing the fishing, then you were investing in that 10 years plan in order now to be gaining those rewards. But I didn't know that before. So what I did, I started with the long term right away, and that was a mistake. So in property, in if you read Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's like yeah, buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent out. It's a good strategy, but the thing is, the cash flow, it's like if you rent it to a family or something, it's not huge. It's like if you there is the mortgage and all the other things, so it's a little bit. So I had these three properties in the first year, making £1,000 a month passive income, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, but this is very slow. Usually, like I need like 10,000 like tomorrow, not 10 years. And after I went and one another property investor in here in UK said like, this is good. This is for building wealth, but now you don't have the cash flow, so you need the quick money. And in the meantime, you can be doing also the slow money, but you are just focusing on slow money, and that's a big problem. So, and after I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So then we started doing the management, holiday-led management, sourcing deals for people, and starting doing more like joint ventures with people. We find a deal, and they have money. They fund some part, we might fund something, and that really helped a lot. So to securing our living, and in the meantime to be building the wealth, like you said with the ocean, with your business. I just didn't know that something like what you do exists. So
Yeah, a
it's,
lot of people don't. I don't even know it until I met my husband who
yeah,
was a
it's very
diver.
niche. Yeah, like yeah, like.
It is very niche.
And have you ever done any like a real estate project, or do you own any real estate? That's in yep.
I did, and I failed miserably. It's just not my thing. We tried to buy some properties. We lost quite a bit of money.
Oh,
Not just our forte, right? And market also. I think it also depends on what market you're in. So it's very easy, for example, to I think really generate wealth if you're in the States because there are really better price properties. But in the Canadian market, specifically, it's very tough actually.
hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that's why also like I think it's good to do some if people want like if they want to diversify like doing this joint venture or something. I have a few people from they live in the Netherlands, and over there it's not easy to do investment as well, not like residential properties because the tenants rights it's even worse than in UK, and there is not it's very expensive. You cannot find a good deal, and those people they don't have a time to fly to UK and find those deals. They have either another work or business. So basically we are in touch with those people, right? And they put like now we are buying one property in Scotland, so I know the market, I know it's going to work on holiday let, and it's a refurbishment project. So basically they put the money, we fund the refurbishment, and we have it together, so we cannot de-risking their not knowing and going to the different market. And that really works nicely for kind of scaling it with more people. I'm all for joint ventures, even after reading chapter 3 of JT's book.
I love joint ventures. Actually, in fact, two of the divers that my husband started this with was a joint venture wherein two divers actually joined him and contributed labor. They're still with us. I mentioned he worked with them for
Yeah.
25, maybe more than 30 years now. Now they're earning the fruits of their labor, literally. So now they're getting back all that labor that they contributed. And one of our long-term partners, really two
Mm.
good guys. And I love partnerships myself because I know, you know what they say, right? What's the adage? If you want to succeed, work alone. If you want to go faster, go partner, something like that, right?
Yeah, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, go with someone.
You
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that the real estate market in the Netherlands is actually not as good. Obviously, some of the people in our business, in our industry, the very best ones are either in Norway, Netherlands, somewhere in Europe, because it's
Mm,
more scalable.
mm.
Vast ocean that you got in Europe. And so most of the, I don't know, you actually know that Netflix has a series highlighting the aquaculture industry. I forgot the name now. But it's along the lines of ocean farming businesses who are actually in the stock exchange, and these are family firms fighting.
Oh, wow.
I think it's called Billionaire Island. So if you look it up.
Billionaire Island. Mhm. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I think we are we can slowly wrap up. The at the end, usually on this business breakthrough podcast, I ask people if they people learn from like some kind of a challenges, right? So have you experienced something that was like kind of very difficult over the past years with your business, with your husband, where you were like, you know, you didn't really know how to overcome it, or you thought like, oh, okay, now we are done, or maybe a small problem, or I don't know. And if yes, what help you to actually do something about it?
No, this is a perfect business. Not.
Okay, we are all starting the ocean farming business. I think I can do it also in Scotland. We have a shellfish in here, so wait, I'll take over. Okay. What
No,
are
well,
tell me your suppliers, please, and
there
who's
are
buying your products?
very funny, Vincent. Very funny. Well, there's a lot of challenges, right? First, we work with nature, right? As everybody knows, climate change is a big topic right now. Right off the bat, that's a challenge.
Mhm.
Second challenge, working with a family firm. There's family dynamics, obviously. And then third challenge, obviously, we always say there's actually three challenges in this industry that we're in. First is learning how to produce the species that we are actually producing. Second is how to produce it profitably. And then the third one is how to produce it profitably without harming the ocean's ecology. So those
Mhm.
are the three musts that we need to master to be able to succeed in the business. And then obviously some of the other challenges, which is more most recently for us, obviously when we were first starting to plant 10 years ago and we were looking for funding, it was very hard. Nobody knows what a gooey duck is, which is the king clam I mentioned. So
Mhm.
they don't want to invest if they don't see it. It's under the water. It takes 10 years to grow. No, everybody's no, 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 right? 13 years of like asking, pitching, it's like no traction. But
Mhm.
we kind of knew though that it's a very new industry at that time. And at the same time, when we have early adapters talking about early adoption of new things, you can imagine if you're a caveman and you see a cell phone right now, you're going to get scared. That's kind of the reaction that we had. It
Yes.
was too early. We were too early adoption. So I think if there's any obstacle that's the biggest in the industry that I will name as the number one challenge that we have was we were too early.
Mhm. So I'll just follow up on how did you manage to raise the finance at the end if you needed the money? Like if you were too early and people are saying, what was the breakthrough point that somebody told you yes, and how do you feel?
So we ended up bootstrapping it. So my husband and I borrowed here, left and there, banks, anybody who will. And I mentioned we did joint venture. So we
Yes.
have people who actually contributed labor. So we didn't have to shell out the cash there. So the
Mhm.
partnerships ended up pretty good at the beginning. And then right now, obviously, we have the product. And so we have now a steady client who wanted all of the products. So at the beginning, when we actually harvested the first time, first year, what I did was do a futures contract. I sold 3 years supply in advance.
3 years supply in advance of like
Yes,
this 10 years time period?
correct. So our ideal client was really wanting a steady source of supply. So they dominated the market by having a steady source of supply.
And when did you sell it to them? So in the very beginning or like a little bit later or?
No, it was 2022 that we first harvested. So the moment that we have our first test harvest, the contract I sold them was get my product from 23, 24, 25, actually even 2026.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good.
Okay. You know what they say, right? So maybe sell it first before you build it. Kind of the same concept.
Yeah, no, I like that too. Yeah. I also was testing things like that, like selling courses and after seeing like if somebody buys or not, and then making them or not making them and giving refunds. Yeah, it's better to test. I
It
think a
is.
lot of people are really focused on perfectioning the I don't know. I'm just following up like online course or doing all the work on it, and after they just go and it's like you think that it's gonna sell, nobody's buying, and after they are surprised, it's like yeah, but
Yeah.
nobody wants it or you don't know how to market or how to sell because it's very difficult, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Lourdes, for all this information because I had no idea about any of them. So that was very insightful. And thank you very much for coming for the podcast. And I'm looking forward to see you in the mega success. I have a note of whiskey, and so I need to just add it to my task on my phone before the mega success so I don't forget. And yeah, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, Vincent. Thank you for giving value to all the insiders. And I know I haven't met you that long, but you giving value to the members has been a great model and example on how to build relationships. So thank you very much for having me on the show.